This is KGW News at noon.
Nationwide, millions of people are traveling on this Thanksgiving Eve, and PDX is seeing a steady stream of passengers flying in and out. Coming up in just a moment, we'll take you there for a look at what's different this year. But first, we have breaking news out of Georgia, a verdict in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty.
A jury found all three men guilty of killing Arbery. As that verdict was read, this was the reaction from Arbery's mother there in the courtroom. Arbery, who's black, was shot and killed in Brunswick, Georgia in February of 2020 by the three white men. Travis McMichael and his father Gregory chased Arbery in their pickup trucks, and William Bryan filmed the encounter. They weren't arrested until months later when the video was leaked and got nationwide attention. The defense argued that the men thought Arbery was a burglar and they were trying to make a citizen's arrest. The jury didn't buy that. Outside the courtroom, you see crowds gathering to show their support for the decision. And Arbery's mother says she's thankful that these men were found guilty.
It's been a long fight. It's been a hard fight, but God is good.
Yes, He is.
Early in, I never saw this day back in 2020. I never thought this day would come, but God is good.
The men are facing minimum sentences of life in prison. Now it's up to the judge to decide whether that comes with or without the possibility of parole. Back here in Oregon, police are looking for more potential victims after they arrested a Washington County Lyft driver for kidnapping and raping a woman. Detectives say she was one of his fares and she was just trying to get home. KGW's Alma McCarty reports.
If you are a victim, whether it was through a rideshare app or some kind of outside encounter, we want to hear from you. We understand as a victim of a sex crime, it is extremely hard to come forward. It is very tough. So we do want to hear from you, but it's at your pace.
Sergeant Danny DePietro with the Washington County Sheriff's Office issuing this message after a startling case out of Beaverton. On October 24th, deputies say Omar Al-Nasser, a rideshare driver for Lyft, picked up a woman leaving a family member's home. But instead of taking her to her desired destination, deputies say he drove her to his home and sexually assaulted her.
The victim was able to realize what had happened. They did get home, and they were able to get to the hospital. Evidence in cases like these, DNA evidence, any kind of trace evidence, it takes time to process.
On Tuesday, a month later, Al-Nasser was arrested at his Beaverton home and booked into the Washington County Jail, charged with rape, kidnapping, and sexual abuse.
We were able to contact Lyft. They cooperated fully with us. They were able to suspend the individual's Lyft access to ensure that this wasn't going to happen again.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Lyft wrote, in part, after becoming aware of the incident, we launched an investigation and permanently removed the driver from the Lyft platform. We reached out to the rider to offer our support and worked with law enforcement to assist with their investigation. Sergeant DePietro says the suspect was only driving for Lyft for a short time, from August of this year to October.
We err on the side of caution, and we want to make sure that people get to see this face and see this individual, and if they have had that incident or that occasion where they've come across this individual and it ended up in a negative event, we want to hear from them.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Now to our other big story this noon, Thanksgiving travel. PDX is busy today, and it's going to stay that way right through the weekend. It's expecting 500,000 people to pass through. That's 300,000 more than last year, thanks to dropping COVID cases, the vaccine, and more people just being comfortable traveling. If you're heading out, you should know that there are some changes at PDX. There's no longer a hallway connecting all gates past security. Make sure you have the correct departure gate so you only get screened once. There's also construction going on, and the walkways to bypass that will add a few extra minutes to get where you're going. The last little bit of advice, arrive early. You may run into long lines at the TSA security checkpoints.
But so far, things have been good. I was afraid there won't be parking spaces. We've had good parking spaces. There was no line to check in. This is the first line we've encountered for TSA.
Love hearing that. You know, it has been a while since a lot of folks have traveled, so the TSA reminds you to double check what's inside your carry-on. A banned item can slow down the process of getting through security. So, Rod, the holiday weather forecast is looking good just about everywhere.
Yeah, even across the nation, it's very quiet. So here's the latest satellite radar. In the green, just some light precipitation, this cloud band that extends from parts of Texas up into the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley. But there's nothing that would be a concern that would slow down travel into any of the big domicile airports around our country, or for that matter, any of the smaller ones. It is cold up north. There's Fargo at 17 degrees. These are our expected high temperatures this afternoon. Minneapolis in the 30s, but you go to Chicago, 50 is considered great for them. Low 40s on the East Coast. Dallas, of course, a big hub for Americans, 72. Phoenix is looking good, and we have 60s down in Southern California. Here at home, we started the morning with dry weather, but it was icy over the high Cascade Passes. This is our Timberline live camera. A little bit of high, thin clouds up top. Beautiful snowfall. That's what fell. It was more than a foot that came down Monday night into Tuesday morning. Temperature at Government Camp is now just above freezing. So you can see that's becoming a wet surface. And the roads are even better. Santiam, that's at 36 degrees. And Willamette Pass is also now getting wet and 33. So for the rest of your day, that's good news. Folks getting away to the coast, it's been a quiet day, but for the most part, overcast. Here's Cannon Beach live. See some folks walking on the beach. Maybe a little brighter, but not much down along the Central Coast. That's a view from the Channel House in Depot Bay. Portland is not foggy any longer, but we are cloudy and cool at only 43. If we get some sun, we'll hit 50. If we don't, we won't. Tomorrow, I still think is dry, and we'll have that complete holiday forecast for you coming up.
Okay, we'll talk to you then. Thank you, Rod. Now to one of the world's most enduring mysteries, the search for D.B. Cooper. 50 years ago today, he hijacked a flight from Portland to Seattle, claiming he had a bomb on board. When the plane landed in Seattle, the FBI handed over 4 parachutes and $200,000 in cash. Cooper ordered the crew to fly to Mexico, but investigators say he jumped out of the plane somewhere over southwest Washington. You know, to this day, nobody knows who D.B. Cooper actually was or where he went. Some believe he may have died. Others claim they found cash near the Columbia River just outside of Vancouver.
I've always felt like he buried the money, the attaché case, and the parachutes all at the same time, all in this area here, because back then, of course, 1971, this was just sand.
Yeah, he's a treasure hunter. This, by the way, is still the only unsolved skyjacking in U.S. history.